The All-Star race. So much drama. You either liked it or you didn't. So let's talk about why. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, had the All-Star race last night where Christopher Bell won. And there is a lot of aspects to this thing, but basically people either liked it or they didn't like it. So before we get into all of that, let's just start with the race itself and the track. So the race itself, or races if you want to include the open, I thought the racing itself was good. There were multiple grooves. You could see cars running 3 and 4 wide at some points in this race. Guys were going for it. You were able to make passes. You did have to use, the bumper and stuff like that to move people out of the way. You did see the leader get away from people. It was really hard to pass the leader when the leader had clean air. So a lot of people are going to point to that and say, hey, that would be an issue with this package and this track. However, I will push back saying that if this one day got a points-paying race, like take the All-Star exhibition aspect out of it, take that away from the equation. But if you had all 38, 36, 40 cars, whatever you want to put on this racetrack, the leader would never really have clean air after a few laps because he would be dealing with so much lapped traffic. So I think from that perspective, it's always going to be good racing here if they had a points-paying race. So I wasn't super concerned about the leader getting away from the field like that for a points-paying race, which is what I'm looking at the racetrack aspect and the racing perspective of this from. Secondly, as far as the racing and the racetrack goes, the turnout was amazing. Once again, the community in North Wilkesboro supported this race. It was, if not a sellout, it was close to a sellout. The stands looked packed. It looked like there were plenty of people there, so the community supported it. So it looked like a good event to attend in person, and also watching it from TV, seeing that many people in the stands, that is a good thing too. So I think as far as the racetrack goes and the racing on that racetrack, I think that was a good thing overall. In fact, the drivers loved it. You saw Christopher Bell get out of the car. He was super fired up, but not only him, obviously he was fired up because he won, but he wasn't the only one fired up because you saw other drivers throughout the field who were stoked about this. You saw drivers have hurt feelings because it was short track racing, traditional short track racing. And one other thing I want to throw in here, there was not any shifting there that I saw, so I didn't see people shifting, which made it race more like a short track as well. So I think that all those things combined, I think the track itself is good and the racing there is good as well. However, you can't talk about the track without talking about the format. It was the All-Star race. It's an exhibition race. You had the Open there as well. But the All-Star, as far as the All-Star race goes, you had the 100 laps, and then you had the All-Star break. That brought into this equation some tire strategy, and even for the Open, you saw a tire strategy as well. So sort of a manufactured deal there. But we are used to it at this point with stage breaks and stuff like that, so I don't think a lot of people really made too much about the first automatic caution. Because like I said, in both the Open and in the All-Star race, it did provide some type of tire strategy where you saw the 88 car took 4 tires and totally hurt his race there from that perspective on. And then later when everybody took new tires, the 88 car stayed out once again on 4 tires. So every move the 88 made seemed to be bad, but that's just one example I'm using for tire strategy. Keep that in mind though for later, because we're going to get to tire strategy once again when we talk about the All-Star itself. But then you actually got a few natural cautions in there as well, so it wasn't all that, and those natural cautions in both events caused a more tire strategy to come out. You saw at the very end of the Open, guys like John Hunter Nemechek, they had taken new tires, SVG had stayed out on old tires. It created a huge shift in how that race was produced, and that is exactly why the 42 raced its way in to the All-Star race, because they took those new tires. So the tire strategy was there. You also, of course, saw the tire strategy later on, which I said I'm going to touch on here in just a minute. And we're going to touch on it right now because in the All-Star, there was one more manufactured caution. After the All-Star caution, there was the promoter's caution, or the promoter's yellow, whatever you want to call it, where you basically saw Michael Waltrip crawl up there to the flag booth and, threw the flag, the yellow flag at his discretion. And we're going to touch on that in just a minute too. I want to sort of put that to the side right here. But that was another manufactured caution there. And when that manufactured caution happened, you saw the guy who had the fastest race car all race in Joey Logano and his teammate Ryan Blaney. They stayed out there on old tires. Everybody else just about in the field came in and got new tires, and that ended up being the call of the race, right? Joey Logano was not able to hold off the 20 car, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell had close to an equal car to Joey Logano. I think Logano had him better on overall speed, but he had a pretty close to as good as Joey Logano's car. But with those new tires, it wasn't close. Joey Logano did everything he could to hold him back, but at the end of the day, Christopher Bell used the nose, rooted Joey Logano out of the way. So the format itself did create an exciting finish. The finish was very exciting. I don't think there is any debate about that. You got the bumping, you got the beating, the banging, you got the bumper, the door, and then, of course, he went clear from there. Joey Logano, after the race, mad about it, so you got drama. Christopher Bell coming out later today and saying Joey Logano has done worse, so you got the drama as far as that goes for sure. So the format created an exciting finish. There's no doubt about that, but there is still some debate about the format itself as to whether or not it was good. And of course, the 88 team, super excited that the 22 and the 12 team stayed out there, because now nobody is talking about the 88 and their decisions in the open that basically hurt SVG's chances of winning that race to get into the All-Star, because the 22 inexplicably staying out and not taking tires sort of overshadowed that, because obviously he had the fastest car and only him and the 12 car stayed out there, while everybody else with a chance to win came in and got tires. So the manufactured drama and all that did create a great finish. You had great racing and you got drama. All of the things that make for a great race. But after this, a lot of people, despite all of those things, say that this race felt hollow. So let's take a look at both sides of this argument. And before we jump into this, I just want to say this is an exhibition race. I know you try things out here and it's just for fun. There's no points being paid. I get it from that aspect. But there are basically two sides to this coin, two sides of this argument. The first one is thus. The first school of thought is, oh, this was absolutely fun. We got the drama. We got Bell versus Logano. We got the beating and the banging. We got the great finish. You know, the fans loved it. There were pyrotechnics, all kinds of other stuff. It was there. Overall, it was, a circus. The WWE atmosphere, it was entertainment. And that's what people come to these things to see. They want to see entertainment. They want to be entertained. They want this thing to be exciting. It's an all-star race. They want gimmicks. They want this type of atmosphere. They want it to be fun. They want it to be light. And if you don't like this type of racing, if you can't have fun during an all-star race, you need to loosen up. That is one take on it for sure. The other side of the argument is this. Yes, we got drama between Joey Logano and Christopher Bell. However, that drama was not real so much as it was manufactured by a format. Yes, we got an exciting finish, but we only got that exciting finish at the expense of a team that had the better car that day because of the manufactured format. Yes, NASCAR was built on beefs, but this beef is not real. This is not the Alabama gang versus Cale Yarborough at Daytona, where it was real stakes, and that happened off the cuff. This was more or less manufactured by the format. And of course, that side of the argument is going to point out their biggest gripe or their biggest symbol of this all-star race. When Michael Waltrip in his Daytona 500 winning leather jacket in 80-degree, 90-degree heat climbs up to the flag stand, literally throws the yellow flag onto the track where it landed. Simultaneously, while he's doing this, you have fireworks going off. There's a light show. At some point, you were expecting a monster truck to jump over the track, motocross bikes going this way and that way. It looked like a GoPro commercial when he threw that promoter's yellow. It was all the way over the top. It was nothing but show and not a lot of substance to that. At which point the purists, I'll say for this argument, were upset that this was more show than actual racing on the track, and they show up for actual racing on the track. And that, in a nutshell, this all-star race, in a nutshell, fully encapsulated the experience that is modern-day NASCAR, where it has become more of a show, more of a lot of gimmicks, a lot of manufactured drama, a lot of manufactured championship, even the championship format is manufactured. There's one race to create drama to make sure the championship race has as much drama as possible. There is the group of people over here that like that. They like that circus atmosphere, that manufactured drama. And then, of course, there is the other side of the fan base over here that wants just something with more substance. They want actual earned championships, in their opinion, because they don't feel like these are earned. They feel like these are sort of lucked into. You've got to fall into a good situation to win these championships. So they just don't compare those championships the way they compare some older championship formats, a la the Latford system, so on and so forth. They just want more substance. They want season-long points, things like that. So you have that argument where you either are on one side or the other side, and that's pretty much what this All-Star race encapsulated. Half of us liked it, half of us didn't like it. As NASCAR fans, same way that they're having these same type of arguments about the next-gen car, the current format versus maybe we need to go back to an older format and stuff like that. So I thought this race, the story of this race is, it encapsulates what modern NASCAR is all about, and people either liked it or they didn't like it. So that pretty much is all I got for you on this one. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll just keep making these things. Until next time. Peace.